What's going on, YouTube? Got another knife review here for you. This is of the Kershaw Skyline. This is a knife that I owned a while back when I was first starting collecting, and I sold it without really being able to have a good assessment of this blade. But it was one that I always wanted to have back in my collection. I think I might, after having it, I think I might be returning it, but at the same time, I still think that this is a great knife. That's my first general impression. If I didn't have all the other knives that I already had, then I think this would definitely be a keeper and would be a user. As it stands, really it's just I have too many other options that this knife just didn't have a fair chance. But that aside, if I can put all that bias away, all my other thoughts of my other knives, this is an awesome and incredible knife for the price. This knife can be had somewhere around $30 to $40 from Amazon, and there's a lot of I guess I'll categorize these as cheap EDC options. And I know if you're just getting into, beginning collecting, $50 doesn't seem cheap. But that's kind of, where I'm classifying, I'll just say reasonable in terms of EDC options. Obviously when you're talking about, a Shoop, around, over $500 knife, a Sebenza with micarta at, $485 retail from pretty much any knife retail store. $40 for a knife is dirt cheap, and you'd be expecting kind of shoddy quality and all that kind of stuff. But some of these knives can be had for really good prices. Spyderco Tenacious around $35 to $40. It's this is an awesome knife made in China with pretty decent steel at 8CR 13 MOV. You got G10 handles, stainless steel, skeletonized liners, forward pocket clip, and all that stuff. I mean, nothing else needs to be said about the Tenacious. It's a great knife. Mine, I guess I did some work to it, but it's developed a little bit of side-to-side play, and I have completely screwed these screws completely in. I've cranked them down, and so there's still some side-to-side play on this. The other options, maybe like some SOGs or cold steels. I don't know. You get into like some of those cheap mall knives like Smith & Wesson, or I don't know what else is it, Meyerco or something. I think this knife tops all of those in terms of quality, in terms of fit and finish, in terms of blade steel, and all those things. Most of those aforementioned knives that I was just talking about, run AUS 8 steel, which, for cold steel, I know, I think, with their heat treat, it's actually pretty good. I just got this massive Raja 2. I'm going to be doing a review on this down the road. I love it. I love that knife. It's kind of like my guilty pleasure knife. I don't know why. It's not even like that high quality of a knife, but yeah, I love carrying that thing. But this knife, at a 3 1/8 inch blade, 14C28 Sandvik steel, or 14CN, I don't remember what it is, but that is a pretty decent quality steel. It's definitely a higher end steel than, say, 8CR, much better than AUS 8. I would say maybe it's slightly less than VG10. I think that's arguable, but Sandvik steel takes an extremely keen edge. From what I've heard, holds an edge. It holds an edge pretty well, and it sharpens pretty easily. So this option as a EDC knife for just the everyday person that wants a knife to carry, that doesn't want to spend exorbitant amounts of money, I think that this is an awesome option. Made in the USA, so quality control typically is supposed to be pretty good. On this knife, I think it's awesome. It runs You can see on this handle, single thick piece of G10 with good grippiness. It's a very grippy G10, not as rough or as grippy as Emerson's G10 or some of the Spyderco Peel Ply G10, but plenty grippy on both sides. Your hand's really not going to slip anywhere if you're gripping it tight. You got what I believe is either plastic backspacer, maybe like a Zytel backspacer or a G10 backspacer in here. And then the steel liner down here serves as your liner lock. So it's also plenty thick. If you compare it to, say, the Tenacious, it's probably about the same thickness, maybe a little bit thinner than the Tenacious liner lock. So, but all the same, it's plenty strong. Engages at maybe just under 50% on mine. You got this little jimping right here that doesn't serve any, not for gripping purposes. I think maybe just for actuation of the lock. And so, very smooth. Is a flipper. It's meant to be a flipper. These thumb studs on here are, you can't flip. Well, I guess you can. Wow. Maybe it's still breaking in. But it was really hard to get any. Yeah, it's hard to get purchase on these thumb studs, and they're terraced and they're small, so it really digs into your thumb. I mean, it hurts my thumb. This thumb is like callous. I mean, you can tell from thousands upon thousands of times flipping things and thumb flicks and Spydercos and thumb studs and all that stuff. It's worked in there, and so it digs in because it's such a small thumb stud. But as a flipper, it's great. So Kershaw is pretty impressive in my opinion in terms of their flippers, and most of my experience is from zero tolerances, whether it be the 700, whether it be the 200, whether it be the 350, the 300. I've had all those knives, and all those as flippers. Even with when you take the speed safe spring out, they flip great. My 350 was one of the smoothest flippers that I own. 200 also, that doesn't have speed safe system at all, and it flips like a dream. So this one also, running on phosphor bronze bushings, it flips extremely smooth, extremely quiet. Lockup engage is great. No up and down blade play whatsoever. You can't even force up and down blade play. Side to side, you can kind of force a little bit of flex, due to the fact that it's a pretty thin blade stock. I'm thinking probably running around 0.09 inches, maybe 0.1, but you can see it's substantially, thinner than the Sebenza, which is at 0.125. Just like a Emerson. I think the Tenacious might be 0.12 or 0.125 as well. So you can definitely see it's a thinner blade stock, but it runs pretty, true all the way to the tip. So obviously you're not going to be prying with this knife. It's not made for that purpose, but yeah. So anyway, ergonomics on this knife are awesome. This finger choil right here really just engages your hand. You get a really good grip and purchase on this knife. No jimping on the top side, which is totally fine with me. You can do a lot of precision cutting just by your finger engaged in that choil. And this knife's not going to fail on you at all. I would have no problem stripping down, decent sized cardboard boxes and all that. The blade steel is going to hold up pretty well. Hollow ground, so it's going to work really well as a slicer. The G10 again is plenty thick. I mean, it can flex. You can get it to flex, in the handle if you push hard enough. But all the same, I think it's fine. Really, my only critique of this knife, I think, is outside of the thumb studs, which I think is fine because they're just serving as blade stops. Oh, I didn't mention that. So it serves as the blade stop, kind of like a Strider. So it's just going to sit on top against this stainless steel liner. So that's where all the strength and all the stopping is going to be. It rests against the G10, but obviously the G10 will flex. So again, the only real critique of this knife is the pocket clip. You kind of, it's that standard, 2-screw wide pocket clip, almost kind of like a spoon clip that they use a lot on the ZTs. They use it on the old generation of the 0550 before they upgraded to the second gen. The pocket clip is fine, but the way it sits on this knife, it's too wide, and it sits down too low on the handle for tip up. For tip down carry, it's fine because it rests here and covers up this pivot screw. But down here, for those that prefer tip up carry, like myself, your pocket, it's gonna ride this high up in your pocket. So you can see over a fourth. I think that's over a fourth of the knife, is hanging out of your pocket. And this is not, one, it's a light knife, it's a thin knife. So even though the pocket retention is pretty good, I can see how it could fall out of your pocket or catch onto something. You have this large, pointy part of this knife, kind of just sticking out. And so even though it's not, uncomfortable, coming in and out of your pocket, it just rides high, and it kind of looks bad, hanging out of your pocket right there. I would much prefer them to have something in the ways of like the Spyderco clip. Not so much, not like titanium clip, but maybe like a 1 or 2 screw type construction going vertically, and so it can run a thinner clip. And then you could ride the clip like up this high, and then I just feel like you'd be able to get away with maybe this much knife sitting out of your pocket. And if you did that, it could easily, you can run those 2 screws right there. I was thinking earlier you could do that for left-hand carry as well, but this is a G10, just G10, so the screws would tend to strip, if it was just on the G10 side. So again, really just quick size comparison: 3.125 inch blade versus Sebenza's 3.625. Spyderco's I think 3.5 maybe, or 3.4 something, and then Shoop's 3.5 inch, or I don't even remember what this one is. I think 3.4 maybe as well. So decent, blade size with the amount of handle you get. I mean, you get a really good handle, on this knife. So reverse grip, super comfortable. Your thumb just sits on that curve on the back of the blade, back of the handle. So it's extremely comfortable knife. All right, so in my opinion, for a reasonable priced EDC option, if I had to decide between the Tenacious, Kershaw, and any SOG or any other like cheaper Kershaw, like the Leak or something, I would get this one hands down. I think this is the best option for a cheaper, reasonably priced EDC knife. Again, great steel, great handle, great ergonomics, great flipping action, pretty strong liner lock, and all things considered. So yeah, if you guys are just getting into the knife collecting world, I think that this would be a great starter knife. Even more than the Tenacious. As much as I like this knife, I really like it. I think more due to the sentimental value, because this was my first knife, pretty much that I got as a gift. So, but yeah, in hindsight, I think the Kershaw Skyline is a great option. All right, guys. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next vid.